Hey there, friends, and welcome back to another 3-Minute Thoughts. My name is Derek, and in the next 3 minutes, we're going to take a look at Acts chapter 17 and 18. These two chapters give us a front row seat to how the gospel moved into the cultural, intellectual, and even commercial centers of the ancient world. These chapters show us what it looks like when the message of Jesus encounters real people with real assumptions, fears, worldviews, and real-world idols. And honestly, it feels a lot like what we see in our own world today. Let's start with chapter 17. Paul walks into Thessalonica, preaching in the synagogues. Some believe, some resist. For them, the shocking claim wasn't that Jesus rose from the dead, it was that Jesus is the king. In a world where Caesar claimed absolute authority, saying Jesus is Lord sounded politically dangerous. That's why the crowd accused Paul and his companions of this thing in verse 7 of Acts 17. These men are acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, namely Jesus. The early church heard that as a call to courage. If Jesus is king, we don't bow to fear or pressure. We bow only to Jesus. Paul then goes on to Berea, where the Jews are more noble because they examine the scriptures daily. For them, the message wasn't scandalous, it was verifiable. Finally, Paul lands in Athens, the intellectual capital of the known world. He's surrounded by idols, proof that even the most educated societies are deeply spiritual, often unknowingly. He gets invited to this place called the Areopagus, and instead of quoting scripture, he quotes their poets, not to water things down, but to build a bridge. He says, "The God you worship as unknown, I proclaim to you." The whole idea here is that he didn't condemn them for their idol worship, but rather he commended them for an exhibition of faith that, albeit misdirected, he utilized that as a doorway into a greater conversation. Acts chapter 18, Paul enters Corinth, a very wealthy, chaotic, and morally complex city. It's kind of like dropping the gospel into Times Square or Las Vegas or downtown Chicago at the same time. He meets Aquila and Priscilla, some tent makers like him. It's a reminder that ministry often grows through ordinary friendships and shared work. He preaches to the Jews first, then the Gentiles. It's the same pattern that's repeated over and over through Scripture. So Paul had been beaten, stoned, and chased out of many cities. Corinth must have felt like it would break him. So God stepped in, not with a miracle, not with fire from heaven, but with simple encouragement. Sometimes what a servant of God needs most isn't a new strategy. It's a reminder that God sees, God is with us, and the work matters. Paul stays 1.5 years, a long obedience in a tough place. Later, Aquila and Priscilla disciple Apollos, a gifted preacher who needed clearer teaching about Jesus. They do it quietly, humbly, without shaming him, and he becomes a powerful teacher in the church. Sometimes long obedience in the same direction pays off. Be well, friends.